Welcome to the first feedback video. We're going to give feedback on your main results, but also to your intermediate results. This week we have received 20 submissions. We still miss 17, so please upload this assignment when you haven't finished it yet. It is possible until the end of this course, but make it easy on yourself and upload it today. This assignment is part of the compulsory assignments for your certificate.
We will start with an overview of the value capture examples that you have submitted. So what you see is the value hill, and we're going to start at the top and move slowly to the bottom. So at the top you see some of your examples for maintaining product life, so repair, maintenance and robust design, for instance. And at the bottom some examples of recycling, which we're going to dive into. And at the top you also see some examples that you submitted for products that fit the biological cycle. We will tell you a bit more about some of the examples, starting with an example where actually the company doesn't profit from repair itself, but another organization, Repair Cafés.
Yes, for the repair strategy, Tom proposed the Repair Cafés as a value capture example. From a business and economic point of view, repair cafés are not very valuable. On the other hand, product's life is extended and there's a large social value involved within the repair cafe community. A good example of economic value capture is, on the other hand, is bundles, which do not sell washing machines but sells washing as a service. This case study uploaded by Timon shows new business development by servicing functionality. Bundles uses only Miele washing machines, which have a robust design and offer service parts for a long life. After use, the machine is taken back, refurbished and redistributed, and refurbished machines are offered at a lower price than new machines. So let's move to the next value capture strategy, reuse and redistribute.
It's an example that has been uploaded by Core, and it's rechargeable batteries, a product we all know. But very good example, I would argue, because instead of discarding a battery when it's empty, consumers can use these batteries again and again, up to 100 times before discarding them. Value captured is both by the company itself, because these batteries are typically 3 times as expensive as disposable batteries, but there's also value captured by the user because they can use the product much longer.
So there was no case study uploaded with the refurbishment strategy. So I'll show you one example of a refurbished product. And that's this one. Here you see Leap, who gives second-hand Apple computers and smartphones a second life by means of refurbishment. The second-hand products are bought up, the product is checked on its functionality, and critical components are replaced. Critical components for a smartphone are mostly the battery, which fails in 5 to 6 years, or even faster when intensively used, and of course the screen, which might be scratched or even broken. During the refurbishment process, the product undergoes only a functionality check, and replacement of critical components are resold with some aesthetical flaws. The remanufacturing process, on the other hand, receives a complete overhaul, where the product is completely torn down to its core components and checked and replaced where needed. The machine is then resold as new.
Stefan shared this example of remanufacture by Auping, and it's a key accomplishment that mattresses that are typically very hard to take apart can now be used again. So Auping reuses the springs from returned mattresses in their new products. They're expecting a large number of their mattresses to be sent back to them, and they can capture value by both reusing those components and also by recycling of the other materials.
Hans came up with these light poles, which might be remanufactured. On the other hand, the poles are completely stripped down when returned, and they seem to be update all parts back to new state and resell the pole as new. When looking at Hydro's websites, they only recycle the brought back aluminium and reuse not so much the parts, but the material in the manufacturing of new poles. I could not find any facts on reuse of parts like cabling and light bulbs. and Hydro could incorporate a much further going value recovery business by actually updating parts and reuse them in remanufacturing as new light bulbs.
Lastly, recycling. We have included two different examples that illustrate an important nuance. So when is something true recycling, meaning that resources can loop back and to be used in similar products, and when is it actually more downcycling? We have the two examples. So an example of what we would call high quality recycling are the waste bins made by ESE, which contain recycled HDPE, HDPE in
High density polyethylene.
Yes. So they offer their waste bins as a service. So when they are no longer usable, they get them back and they recycle them into exactly the same product. On the other hand, tires, the company Black Bear's Carbon Black, is an example where you can say valuable resources are used again in a new application, but it is an example of downcycling. This company separates car tires into oil, gas and carbon black, the latter which can be used again as a dye. The carbon black is not similar as the original material, rubber. And within a circular economy context, recycling means that the product would be reprocessed, so the old tires, into new rubber granulate, which can be used again to produce new tires. Lastly, we received several examples of products fitting the biocycle. And that may be strange because the value hill concept that we've explained you mostly focuses on the technological cycle. So we wanted to give you some additional information which strategies would apply to the biocycle. For that, I want to show you the butterfly diagram of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. If you haven't seen this diagram before, maybe look it up. For instance, in our MOOC, Introduction to the Circular Economy, where you can find much more details. But in short, on the right-hand side, the blue circles refer to the technological cycle, which is used for durable products, which contain materials that cannot enter the biocycle, such as metals and most plastics. On the other hand, on the left side, in green, you see the biological cycle, where products that are used as consumables re-enter the biocycle after being used. However, to make sure that resources are used effectively and not immediately end up as waste, you can cascade those materials to be used again and again before safely entering the biosphere. This mushroom example is an example of cascaded use within the biocycle, where used coffee grounds are used again as substrate for growing fungi. A very nice example of the biocycle. Yeah. As you can see from these examples, many companies are already capturing value from their products after the first use cycle, and they are using different circular strategies for doing so. Apart from the design of the product, this requires a business model to keep control over the flow of products, components and materials. So you can actually capture that value as a company. As you've seen in the examples, it's not always the manufacturer itself that captures the value, but new businesses, and they're called so-called gap exploiters. These companies resell refurbished products or recycled products, and their processes often cannot maintain original quality because you need the information from the design process to do that at a high quality level.
And the last takeaway is definitions of, for instance, remanufacturing versus refurbishment, where the process of remanufacturing involves complete disassembly, after which all components are brought back as new working condition before it is reassembled. Refurb involves less actions than remanufacture, where the product is brought back to satisfactory working condition. Please check them out in the glossary on the Profet website. So, thanks for uploading your examples, and this week you will start with the product assessment using hotspot and disassembly mapping. You will tear down your case study and assess it on its ease of disassembly. When you upload this week's assignments, we will give you intermediate feedback during our next week feedback video. Enjoy the teardown.
Good luck!